Buddy Jim Feist and Hank Goldberg, and it's Memorial Day, Hank, and there's a lot to be thankful for, and there's a lot of people that did took the ultimate sacrifice to keep us free, and I want to say personally I appreciate all they did, and it's an amazing, a very sobering feeling, and to read all the things that have happened over time to keep this country free. And in addition to that, yesterday, I think it was yesterday, the day before, Bart Starr was 85 years old, passed away. And that was a gentleman that everybody speaks highly of. He was drafted number 200 in the draft. Tom Brady was drafted 199. Which is kind of amazing when you get two quality players that deep in a draft. And Bart Starr won 5 championships in 10 years. It was a different league then, of course. He set a lot of passing records. He accomplished a lot, and he will be missed, of course. So it's one of those kind of weekends where we give thanks to people that, and especially the soldiers, the men and women that gave their lives and fought for this country. But that's starting off on that sobering note. How are you?
I'm good. I remember Bart Starr very well. Had some great championships under Vince Lombardi, and played on those great Green Bay teams. And he was a pretty cool guy under pressure. And those were great games in the NFL. Remember them playing in the Giant teams that I loved. Bart was he was very beloved in Green Bay, and those were a lot of those guys are passing on now, but boy, Starr, Horning, Jim Taylor, Dowler, wow, great names.
Yeah, really.
Those are that offensive line. A friend of mine played on that team, Marv Fleming, who wound up with the Dolphins at the end of his career. Marv wound up with 5 rings, and Marv and I have been good friends for years.
Wow. That's really amazing. It's great that you know and knew all these people. It's awesome. Well,
I didn't know Bart, and I knew Marv because I knew Jim Taylor. We became friends over the years, and I knew Horning, of course, because we spent a lot of time at the racetrack together. And Horning had some great stories to tell. You'd love Horning.
Yeah. So back to the current situation we have an NBA playoff final. Starts in Toronto. It's Golden State against Toronto Raptors. A lot of people were very shocked that Milwaukee lost 4 straight games to Toronto. They really figured out a way to defense Giannis, and of course Kawhi is amazing. What do you think?
Well, they made great adjustments in every game. They set a record in last game for a comeback. They were down 15 points in the second half, came back, and it was the same script almost every game. They figured out Giannis. Bledsoe was coughing up the ball, taking shots he shouldn't take. And they just went cold and they were outscored by 21 points in the fourth quarter, and it was unheard of for a team like that. And you had to wonder what that coach was doing. Lose 4 straight like that. That was ridiculous.
Yeah, it's I know that when Budenholzer was the coach for Atlanta, there was a lot of injuries. But he had a similar situation there where things didn't turn out very well as well. So I think maybe.
Well, I mean, how do you keep blowing leads like that game after game? And particularly in that game, where there was so much on the line, and to be outscored by 21 points in the fourth quarter,
Pretty amazing.
the offense just totally fell apart. And he had the same guys in there who were screwing up the previous game.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. Well, outplayed and outcoached. I think it comes down to that.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what happens now with Toronto has the home court advantage to start off the series. So the first two games will be played at home starting on Thursday. And, I've heard people talk about Golden State and rust. Well, Toronto's going to have a week off, too.
Yeah, they're both going to be rested up, and it's going to come down to who prepares better. But when you look at the experience, I mean, Kawhi is a great player, but the role players on Toronto are going to have to step up against a team that's got a tremendous amount of experience. Golden State's favored in the series, of course, even though the home court advantage is Toronto. But, I've talked to some people and believe that Golden State actually should be more priced higher than they are in the series.
Well, 300 to 1 in the series, but Toronto is favored in the first game by 2 points.
I'm going to look right now at the current number. And this series did open up where Golden State was the favorite at -1, and now it's actually everyone right now has Toronto 1 in the first game. It went up to 2, but it backed down to 1. So it's basically a pick'em in game 1. But the series price is Golden State -300, -290, -280. You can do some shopping and find it. But I think Golden State at that price, I mean, should they win game 1, that price is going to skyrocket. So I think that's actually a cheap price. But I think the series at the most will go 5 or 6 games. That's about 5 games probably. I don't see Toronto beating them. I think it's a mismatch in experience, and you can't defend what Golden State does. It's just difficult. With or without Durant,
Well,
they're very difficult.
More importantly, Golden State can defend what Toronto does.
Yes, Golden State's a very good defensive team. People don't realize how good they are. Draymond Green, Klay Thompson, who, by the way, got screwed on that voting thing. But how there are 5 guards in the NBA that are better than Klay Thompson, I don't know. That's crazy, in my opinion. But
Stanley Cup finals begin tonight. Tell you an interesting sidebar to that, and that is, Boston's pretty well rested. And the Boston coach called Bill Belichick and asked him how he deals with a layoff coming back after, 2 weeks off. Belichick told him, scrimmage, play extra scrimmages, hard scrimmages. So they set up an inter-squad game, and people paid to see it. And they played it like a regular game to keep themselves sharp. Thought that was kind of interesting.
yeah, it was. Well, Belichick knows what the hell he's doing, that's for sure. So that's great. Yeah, Boston's a pretty big favorite in that series, in that first game. They're -160, but it's been bet down to actually 145, 147, game 1. The 5 is the total, was 5.5, went down to 5. Little over money. 5 -30, over -30. Something like that. We've got some baseball games. We've got a great matchup in baseball today, pitching-wise. You got
Kershaw and DeGrom, that's pretty good.
That's as good as it gets. The total in that game is 6.5, a nice low total. But Kershaw's 175 in that game. The Dodgers, of course, they're a beast. I mean, they're playing really well. 35-18 on the season, and the Mets are kind of average, 26-26. Oakland's got a pretty good pitcher going for them today. A kid named Bassett, been pitching very well. So look out for him. There are some young.
Oakland's very hot. Oakland's very hot right now.
Oh yes.
Hey, another good matchup: Milwaukee and Minnesota. And Minnesota right now is red hot. That's a interleague matchup that's of interest. And I'll tell you, these teams that are steaming right now are pretty good to be riding. I watched the St. Louis game last night. They blew a 3-0 lead in the ninth inning to Atlanta. Atlanta's been playing well. And St. Louis goes to their closer in the ninth inning, and he had nothing except a fastball that he was just grooving. And, major league hitters can hit a fastball even at 102 miles an hour, and he couldn't get anybody out. And he faced 4 hitters, and they all got hits.
No.
And they all scored, and they all drove in runs when they had to, and they left him in much. And the pitching coach goes out to talk to him after he'd given up 2 base hits, a walk, and another hit, and they're saying, well, he went out there to settle him down. Settle him down? He's grooving his fastball. And then he gave up the hit to tie the score. He hadn't gotten anybody out. And they lost the game in extra innings.
Wow. Hank, I just want to mention this on the Milwaukee, Minnesota game. It's Gonzalez against Pineda. That game opened 10. It's down to 9 or 9.5 under the number favored. There's an 18-mile-an-hour wind coming directly in that game. Not too many balls are going to fly out of that park at 18-mile-an-hour wind. It's just a little note to the betting public out there that are listening to this. It's going to be a great day, and everybody is going to be having picnics and celebrating the day and honoring our fallen heroes, and that's the way it should be. Anything else, Hank?
No, hockey starts tonight, so that'll be fun to watch and interesting. It should be a very physical series. And outside of that, the ladies' basketball started yesterday. Looks like Las Vegas has a pretty good team. They beat Los Angeles without one of their best players playing, and they still won by 12 points.
Yeah, they do look good, and it's pretty exciting for the city to have the ladies playing well, and we're quite a city now. We have the ladies NBA, we've got the hockey with the Knights, and now we're having the Raiders. Vegas has grown up from the time I came over the hill here many years ago with 100,000 people. We're over 2 million. We got major league teams and many sports, and it's very exciting to be here. Okay. Well, hope you have a nice holiday today, and I guess we'll talk again on Wednesday. We will, Hank. Have a good holiday yourself. Bye-bye. All right, Jim. Bye.